G'day everyone, I am AzureBlaze and welcome to Does Anyone Remember? This is a new type of video that may become a series, I'm not quite sure yet. However, they will generally be somewhat smaller than my average videos, and I will be quickly going over and discussing something a little bit more obscure, most generally a game that I feel I have not heard many people talk about. Any videos in this series won't be part of any specific time slot or date. However, it is more of a way for me to discuss and shine a light on something I remember or find interesting without taking up a whole video length. This format is as well quite good for me whilst I am studying or busy on a project, as it should not take as much time to produce hopefully. And with that out of the way, the question I shall ask is, does anyone remember Blastworks?
Blastworks. Build, trade, destroy.
Based on the Microsoft Windows game Tomiki Fighters, Blastworks, which was published by Majesco Entertainment and released on the Wii in 2008 in North America and 2009 in Europe respectively, is best described as a 2D side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. The main gimmick of Blastworks is the player's ability to create their own version of almost anything in the game and share it, meaning players can create their own ship as well as enemies to go against. Using one of a variety of different control schemes, including motion controls and button controls, a user moves their ship in a typical fashion around the screen, of which is constantly moving in some direction. The player has the ability to fire with whatever weapons they have applied to the ship being used. With customization in mind, some ships can have really overpowered weapons placed on them if wanted. The next biggest part of the gameplay is that when a player takes out enemies, they can catch them before they leave the screen, and it becomes a part of the player's ship. The enemies then act as a shield that is removed after getting hit, and they can still fire. However, the weapons are now used to take out further enemies up ahead. This mechanic can get quite out of hand when the player is constantly collecting new enemies and their weapons, with them sometimes taking up the whole screen after many have been caught. To see ahead, a button can be pushed to bring the shield of enemies in, leaving the player vulnerable, however with sight, until the button is released. Whilst not the most in-depth or technically impressive game, Blastworks, I feel at least, is a nice little novelty game to play for roughly around 10 minutes before the player has experienced most of what the game has to offer. And apart from what I can best describe as a basic arcadey type of campaign with some unlockable extras, there is no real progression in the game that interacts with the main mechanics. I feel the game would have worked better if the player started with a limited building experience, with the game sort of filling out more as the player progresses throughout the modes. In saying that, the customization aspect is probably the most fleshed out part of the game, and can be fun to experiment with. The battles themselves, whilst it feels fun to build this huge mass of enemies and weapons, there is not much expansion on that concept, therefore making it feel somewhat samey from mission to mission. In conclusion, I feel Blastworks is a fun little novelty game to play every now and then, similar to that of an arcade game, yet it may not be fleshed out enough to keep one's attention for very long. However, for now, I believe that is all from me. I hope everyone enjoyed this new type of video, and thank you for watching, and I shall be back in the next one. Cheers everyone!